Welcome and hello. This is a video exercise in MODSIM, and in this exercise, we are going to be demonstrating flow-through demand. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. What I have on the screen here is my MODSIM DSS interface. This is a blank interface. I just opened up the program, and with these exercises, we're going to most likely just build them from the very beginning, build them from scratch. So let's go ahead and get started. To get going, I'm going to add a non-storage node right here, and then a couple demands. So there's a demand, consumptive demands, and then one more non-storage node. Let's go with a consumptive demand, and then finally a sink. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and name these inflow 1. I want this to be demand 1, 2, and 3. So let's name this 2 to 3, and then I'll change demand 1 to demand 2, and then this demand right here, I'll call this demand 1. Okay. The non-storage node 1 right here, I'm going to change this to just, NSN1 to kind of shorten up the name, and then sync looks fine. Now I'm going to drag an arrow between each of these nodes in the original order that I sketched them on the map. Oops. You need to be careful to, there we go. You need to be careful to sort of grab the edge of the icon to start a link. So that looks good right there. Before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and save my model or my network. So save, and then it brings up the save dialog box. Here is my project directory. So I'm just going to call it exercise 1 right there, and then click on save. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and define an inflow and then some demands. And then after that, we're going to run the model once as having 3 consumptive demands. And then we're going to change this demand 2 to be a flow through demand. We're going to look at the results after both simulations and then compare what has changed and the effects that our flow through demand has had on the overall network. Okay, so let's start with our inflow here at the upstream end. This is our non-storage node. It's called inflow 1. I'm going to go right click. Okay, hold on. I did a double click and it opened up. So to open up the properties box, you can do a right click and properties, or you can do a double click. Yep, there we go. And then a third option is just to select that particular node and then come up here to this button, properties. Okay, there we go. For the inflow data, I'm going to set this to a constant 12 acre feet per month. I'm going to use units of acre feet per month for this entire exercise. So that's all I need to do there. I'll click apply and OK. Now for the next demand, I'm going to set the demand for demand 1, 2, and 3 all to 5 acre feet per month. So just let me do that real quick. Here's demand 1. It set me to the time series tab. That's good. I'll say 5 acre feet per month. And then for the general tab, this is where we define the type of node, the definition, which is time series. That's both as we want them. And then the priority right here. I'm going to set this first demand priority to 40. So the default is 100. This is 40. And this number, as it compares to the other nodes, will dictate, how that flow is distributed in the network. I'm going to be using the default run settings too. So let me click apply, click OK. MODSIM network settings. In this tab right here, I'm going to click on general. For precision, I'm just going to say we want 2 decimal place precision. We're not going to need that in this exercise, but I want to sort of get in the habit of increasing this precision to something larger than 0. Okay, also in the time step tab, I just wanted to point out the default settings are what I'm going to be using. This is a 1-year simulation during the year 1980. So it starts on New Year's Day 1980, it ends on New Year's Day 1981, and then the step is a 1-month time step. So that's all fine, just default numbers. Okay, so the next demand here, I'm going to double click on demand 2. As promised here in the time series tab, I'm going to say 5 acre feet per month. So that'll be a constant demand all year long, all simulation long. And then in the general tab, I want to set this priority to something a little bit lower, which will be 50. Now, I didn't want to make it 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go 40, 50, and 60 just to add a little bit of flexibility in case I need to add a node with a specific priority later on in the model building process. I don't have to shift a bunch of other nodes. I can just slot one in if I give myself some space. Okay, so there's 50. I'll click apply and OK. And then for this last demand node, consumptive demand node, let's go properties. This is the demand 3. And then for the flow rate, I'll call this 5. And then for the general tab, this will have the lowest priority of the three consumptive demands. I'm going to call that 60. Okay, so I'll click apply, click OK. Now let's go ahead and save this network and then run the MODSIM model. Okay. Okay, saw the green bar pass down here, which means it's good to go. Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look at some of those results. One way to look at the results of, say, flow through each of the links is just right click and click on graph. That will open up this graph display. We have a constant 12 CFS. No surprise there because we defined it as 12. But another way to view multiple series in the same graphing output box is to go up to MODSIM menu, graphing mode. Now what we want to do is click on any of the nodes or links that we want to see the data for. So we're interested in links. You typically want it to be all nodes or all links or all of the same type, basically. I'm going to just do a single click on this link. Oops, there we go. And then it opened up that graphing plot. Now to add another link, I'm going to just click on this link right here. So now we have two different data sets. I'm going to continue that process just for the 4 different links. So 1, 2, 3, and then one more. I'm going to skip this one right here because it's going to be the same flow as right here. Then this one will be 4. Okay, so now we have the 4 different link data right here. If I expand any of these links, it tells me I can select the flow, the capacity, or class natural flow. Flow is the only one I'm interested in, so I'll keep it right at flow. So I'll collapse that. But yeah, you can see that they're all just set to flow by default. And then I'm going to sort of toggle them off and then look at the flow as we go downstream. So for this first link, which is inflow 1 to demand 1, that is a 12 acre foot per month constant flow. All of these flows are going to be constant. We only needed one time step to do these calculations. All right, so the next one down is demand 1 to demand 2. That's right here, and that's at 7 acre feet per month, this orange line. And then after demand 2, it takes another 5 acre feet per month. So I would expect to see a 2 right here from demand 2 to NSN 1, and that's 2. And then finally, downstream of demand 3, it takes the remaining 2 acre foot per month because remember, its demand was 5 acre foot per month. So it should have 0 flow. And yeah, there's no data for that one. And so we have a shortage of 3 acre feet per month right here at demand 3. All right, well, that was the first, we can call iteration or scenario. Now let's go ahead and actually talk about the flow through demand node. I'm going to go ahead and close my results. I'm going to toggle off the graphing mode so it's not checked anymore. And then now I can actually, click a link without it opening up the graphs. I'm going to change this demand to consumptive demand node to a flow through node. So to do that, I'll go right click, properties, and then in the general tab right here under demand node type, I'll select and change consumptive to flow through. All right, so my groundwater tab disappeared. Here is my flow through tab. I'm going to also increase the priority of this from 50 to a lower number. And I'm going to make it a lower number than I've set for demand 1. So demand 1 was 40. Let's make it, how about 35? Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. All right. Next up on the time series tab, it was 5. Now what I'm going to do is change this to 10. And you'll see what happens when we do that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then finally on the third tab, the flow through tab, I went ahead and already did this where I'm going to be using the bypass credit link. That's the link that will convey any extra flow beyond the specified 10 acre foot per month. So that's what we do there. And then for this flow through node right here, this is for basically the target node. And we're going to assign 100% or just a 1 value here. So that's the NSN1. If you have multiple flow-through nodes, then the sum of the fractions needs to equal 1. Okay, apply and okay. Let's talk about what we think might happen here. I'm going to save the network. Now that our flow-through node from flow-through to NSN1 has the highest priority, and that is a value of 10 acre feet per month, then with a starting inflow of 12 acre feet per month, we know that this demand 1 will only have 2 acre feet per month and a shortage of 3 acre feet per month for, well, all of the time periods. Therefore, I expect to see 12, 10, 10, 10, and then 5. We're actually going to have 5 extra acre feet per month due to this flow through demand being as high as 10. And then the demand at 3 and 1 are both going to stay at 5 acre-feet per month. All right, so I'm going to go up to the MODSIM menu, run MODSIM. Okay, so that ran. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results. I'm going to, again, toggle on the graphing mode and then click on each of the individual links like I did before. There's the second one, move. There's the third one. Where'd it go? Hold on. Okay, so it added, I minimized it so I don't have to keep moving it. That's actually kind of nice. And then boom, here is the fourth link. All right, so let's bring that up. Yep, it got added. Cool. Unselect all the checkboxes. So starting at the top, inflow 1 to demand 1, there's 12. No surprise there. From demand 1 to flow through, that should be 10, and it is. Very cool. So it looked like the priorities and the flow through demand worked as expected. From flow through to NSN1, we know that'll be 10. Yep. In fact, I can just toggle off the others to make sure that I'm seeing it. Yep. And then finally, from demand 3 to the sync is 5, because there's a demand of 5. And then downstream of the demand 3 is the sync, and that is the end of the network. All right, well, that was it for this exercise in MODSIM. What we talked about was the flow through demand. We ran one simulation without it and then another simulation with it and compared the results.